My name is Victor Novak, and this is Prague, the city that raised me, the city that gave me beauty at every turn, and the city that broke my heart in ways I never thought possible. It has been years now, but the memory of 2019 still burns in me. That was the year I fell in love with Clara, and the year I lost her, not to time or death, but to the relentless grip of family and the voices that whispered louder than love. I was 29, working as a clerk at a bank in the center of Prague. My days were filled with numbers, signatures, and polite greetings to customers. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid steadily, and I thought it was enough. On my breaks, I would wander into nearby cafes, just to escape the sterile walls of the bank. One cold February afternoon, I ducked into a cafe near Malastrana to warm my hands. That was where I first saw her. She was sitting by the window, her laptop open, phone pressed to her ear, speaking in fast, confident Czech that carried the rhythm of someone used to persuasion. I learned later she was a real estate agent, always on calls, always chasing deals, always in motion. But what struck me then wasn't her words, but the way she carried herself, poised, focused, like she owned the air around her. When her eyes finally met mine, I looked away too quickly, embarrassed. But moments later, she smiled. And that smile, it was the kind that pulled you in, like Prague's lights reflected in the Vltava at night. We began to meet often, almost by accident at first, then by design. She would invite me for coffee after a long day of showings, and I would tell her about the endless stream of clients at the bank. Clara had a way of speaking that made you believe in things. She talked about apartments as if they were living creatures, about Prague as if the city were her personal diary. "Do you see that building?" she once said. As we walked through Old Town Square pointing at a pale yellow house, "I sold a flat there to a young couple. They said it was the house of their dreams. Sometimes I think I sell people pieces of their destiny." I laughed, teasing her. And here I am, stuck selling savings accounts and loans. Hardly destiny. But she squeezed my hand and said softly, "Don't belittle yourself, Victor. You give people security. That's a gift too." I loved her for that, for seeing worth in me, even when I couldn't. Our love grew quickly. We explored every corner of Prague together, the markets, the cobbled lanes, the riverbanks at night, where the city lights shimmered like stars. I bought her flowers even when I couldn't afford it. She brought me food when I worked late shifts at the bank. We spoke of marriage in whispers, of a small flat we might buy together one day. It felt real. It felt unshakable. The first time I met her family was at her mother's birthday dinner. I brought a bottle of wine I could barely afford, my hands sweating as I knocked on the door of their elegant home in Vinohrady. Her father, tall and imposing, shook my hand with a stiffness that made my stomach sink. Her mother smiled politely, but looked me up and down as if assessing the cut of my suit. Her younger cousin whispered something at the table that made Clara's uncle laugh, though I couldn't hear what was said. The conversation turned quickly to careers. "So, Victor," her father began, his voice smooth but edged with disdain, "you work at the bank, yes? As a clerk?" "Yes, sir," I said, forcing a smile. "It's steady work, and I've been there nearly 7 years now." 7 years and still a clerk, her cousin snorted, earning a sharp glance from Clara. I felt my face flush, but before I could answer, Clara jumped in. "He's responsible and hard-working. That's more than I can say for some people in this room." Her words silenced them, but I could feel the judgment hanging heavy in the air. Later that night, as we walked back to her flat, I told her, "They don't like me. They don't know you." She replied quickly, "And even if they never accept you, I don't care. I love you, Victor. That's enough." I wanted to believe her, but her relatives didn't stop. Her father began introducing her to men at family gatherings, lawyers, engineers, men who drove expensive cars and wore tailored suits. "Just friends," he would say. But I knew better. Her mother told her gently, "Darling, you need someone who can give you more than promises. You work so hard in real estate, you should have a man who matches your ambition." Even her cousin, a smug university student, once sneered at me, "He'll keep you stuck in a tiny flat forever. You deserve more, Clara." She always defended me. She argued, shouted, even cried, but slowly I began to see the toll it was taking on her. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed. She stopped speaking of marriage. She avoided the subject of the future altogether. One night I asked her, "Do you regret us?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Never, but I'm so tired, Victor. Every day it's another fight with them. They don't stop." I took her hand. "We can run away. We'll make a life of our own. Isn't love enough?" Her silence that night was louder than any answer. It was a rainy April evening when she finally broke. We stood on Charles Bridge, the stones wet beneath our feet, the statues looming like silent witnesses. She turned to me, her hair plastered to her face, her eyes red from crying. "Victor, I can't do this anymore. I love you, but love isn't enough. My family will never stop, and I don't have the strength to keep fighting them. I feel like I'm being pulled apart." I held her hands, desperate. "Clara, please, forget them. Forget what they say. We have each other. That's all that matters." Her voice cracked as she whispered, "You don't understand. They won't let me breathe. And maybe they're right. You're a good man, but we want different things. You're content with simple things. But I need more." Those words pierced deeper than any insult. I felt my heart collapse inside me. "More?" I asked, my voice shaking.
"Was I never enough for you?"
She sobbed, her grip tightening on my hands for a moment before letting go. "You were enough for my heart, Victor, but not for my life." And just like that, she walked away. Her figure disappeared into the mist, leaving me alone on that ancient bridge, with the rain and the river swallowing my world. I stayed in Prague. Of course, where else could I go? Every street still reminded me of her. The cafes we visited, the flats she showed me, the corners where she kissed me. At the bank I buried myself in work, staring at numbers that no longer made sense. At night I wandered the streets, watching couples laugh, and wondered if they knew how fragile love truly was. Clara went on with her life. I heard from a friend that she was doing well in real estate, selling bigger properties, moving up in the world. I don't know if she ever married, but I imagine her in some elegant flat with high ceilings, pouring wine into crystal glasses while laughter fills the air. As for me, I live with the memory. I live with the knowledge that sometimes love loses not because it dies, but because the world won't allow it to live. It's been years, but every time I walk across Charles Bridge, I see her there, her silhouette in the mist, her tears mixing with the rain, her voice whispering that love was not enough. And I wonder if perhaps the cruelest heartbreak is not when love ends, but when it survives inside you, while the rest of the world moves on.